Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be listening to the fourth part of What If RWBY and Weiss Were Childhood Friends. If you enjoy, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing down below, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get notified when videos go live. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. Chapter 9, RWBY's back alright? RWBY was giddy. Yeah, that was the perfect word to describe her state as of the moment. Seeing Weiss was almost enough to make her soar through the skies. Of course, that feeling didn't come without baggage. Just the single fact that she'd lied, partial truth, straight to Weiss' face almost made her want to repeat the Vomit Boy, Ruby Rose version incident. But when Weiss hugged her so tight, she felt so light. Like if she opened her eyes, all of a sudden there were no more bad people. That the world was already a better place just because the girl was back in her life. So instead of focusing on all the bad stuff, they spent the entire ride just talking among each other, firing question after question. And it was so easy for them to get back to their old rhythm, but at the same time RWBY was finding out new things about the white-haired girl in the process. Mundane stuff that just made her want to keep getting to know the girl over and over again. Her current favorite shows, ice cream flavors, food, hobbies. Everything. There was a burning need to know the girl in every single aspect. The moment she saw her, she felt like she was home. Unsurprised by how gorgeous the girl turned out to be. Well, RWBY had always known that Weiss was beautiful after all. She still carried herself with the same dignity and grace, accompanied by teasing. The teasing. Every second was blissful torture that her brain couldn't quite catch up to. The little mischievous smirks that made the girl look so seductive, sultry, sedultory. How could someone be so adorable and sexy at the same time? That smile, that face, those had to be against the rules, right? RWBY was just lucky that years of training and deadly missions trained her face to remain somewhat impassive during extreme situations. The younger girl just didn't expect that an extreme situation would include her longtime crush flirting back. She didn't know, but if Weiss kept it up, RWBY's brain would be permanently fried. So, I gotta ask, she hears the girl beside her speaking up, looking at her peripherals, when did this all happen? Weiss raised a brow with an amused expression on her face, and RWBY just looked at her confused. When did what happen? And Weiss just rolled her eyes in exasperation. Oh, I don't know, the height? The coolness? Where's my dolt, the one who was shorter than me and wouldn't shut up about video games, comics, and cartoons? She giggles. To be fair, I still love all of the above. The height is pretty self-explanatory. Dad and Mom were tall as heck, and as for the coolness, this was the perfect time to get back at the older girl for teasing. When they made a stop at the red light, she faced the girl, extending a hand to gently hold the other girl's chin. Guess I had to be cool to get such a beautiful girl's attention. Smile and wink. She feels her face heat up in embarrassment over the cheesy line, but she couldn't falter now, not when Weiss' face was redder than hers was. The white-haired girl swats her shoulder and looks away, muttering something under her breath, and the young Rose couldn't help but laugh. The rest of the ride was pretty much them just calling each other names childishly. Weiss called her an oblivious womanizer, and RWBY called her a gorgeous baby snowflake. This was the happiest she'd been with someone other than family and spy friends in a long time. But this wasn't the same kind of happiness. This was a pitter-patter in heart that quickly turns into a thunderous march. She couldn't stop it. She didn't want to stop it. Weiss had always had that effect on her. Back then it was the desire to be her best friend. Without realizing it had turned into something along a desperate want to be something more. It was addicting, and she'd gladly inject all that Weiss love in her veins if she could. When they'd arrived back at the house, RWBY's lips were set on a firm, goofy smile, and each time she'd find the white-haired girl staring at her with such a fond look. Well, let's just say that RWBY was going to be shrieking later, kicking her legs in the air with her face buried on a pillow. Well, we're back, she mutters, still smiling at the girl like a dork, before realizing something. Oh wait, let me get the door for you. Immediately, RWBY was out, walking to the other side, opening the car door for the girl, extending a hand for Weiss to take, which she gladly took. Aren't you smooth? Weiss says, smiling while looking quite shy and making RWBY want to slam her head on the nearest tree to cope with all the happy chemicals firing up in her brain. God, if Team JNPR saw her like this, she could already see all the blasphemous amounts of teasing directed to the supposed holder of youngest official agent of the WPO. She was Special Agent Ruby Rose, for Pete's sake. Yet this girl could unravel that tough, no-nonsense persona with a pinky finger. She was down bad, huh? Like. Really, really down bad. Ah. Finally. Found one. A voice behind them shouts, turning both their attention to the pair who exclaimed. One was a tall girl with long fiery red hair and green eyes, the other was much shorter, with short brown hair and darker brown eyes. The tall girl smiling and the other smirking at them smugly. Well, didn't peg you to get down and dirty immediately after seeing your red Romeo, the brown-haired girl says proudly. Weiss' shy expression instantly changed to embarrassed and annoyed. Whatever drivel you think we did no such thing, the shorter girl growled indignantly, and Ruby couldn't stop the smile on her face from widening. Promptly placing a hand and rubbing her back in a circular manner, "Calm down, princess," she says, making sure the girl was the only one who heard the pet name. She chuckles at the irritated look. If they were alone, she might have been too weak to resist kissing the middle of those annoyed, furrowed brows. She didn't know these people though, so she'll hold off those public displays of affection until they're officially together. Taking a deep breath, Weiss looks away, trying to ease the reddening of her face. She clears her throat and they walk together towards the pair. "I'm sorry for such an unsightly display, Coco just brings it out of me quite easily," the white-haired girl glared at the brown-haired girl. "Coco, was it? Oh, she's speaking fancy." Weiss embarrassed, Coco chuckles before turning to Ruby. Placing both hands on waist, she stared her down, looking from the tips of her hair, down to her boots, before smirking and saying, "You. Red. What are your intentions with my daughter?" "Coco," Weiss says, enraged. But Ruby just stood her ground, placing one hand on the left side of her chest before bowing respectfully. "I want give her nothing but the best, everything she deserves and more," she said earnestly, accompanied by a well-meaning charming smile, or as charming as she could possibly make it given her somewhat nervous state. She didn't expect to meet Weiss' current friends at this time of the night. The three girls, however, didn't reply, each wearing their own shocked expression. Weiss' embarrassment accompanied by a soft look that made her legs feel like jello for the umpteenth time tonight. Coco's eyes were wide with surprise, and the red-haired girl, whose name she still didn't mention, had an almost similar expression as the brown-haired girl, but one hand covered her mouth. It was the red-haired girl who spoke up first, chuckling. "My, aren't you suave? No wonder you caught this one's high standards," she giggled. Weiss just groaned, burying her face in her hand. "Ugh, not you too, Pira." "Ah, Pira. That was her name." Ruby was already stockpiling information in head, anything to win Weiss' friends' approvals. Coco on the other hand placed a hand on the wall before taking a deep breath and looking at Ruby perturbed. "God, that's an SSR tier face right there, Jesus, if I didn't have the hots for Velvet I would have applied as your rival, Weissy." Earning a blush from Ruby, who couldn't help but awkwardly chuckle and scratch the back of her neck. "Well, that's certainly a compliment I haven't heard before." "Ack. You're obnoxious, Adele." Then she watched the two bicker like a bunch of well-oiled machine guns, firing each insult to one another at rapid speed. Ruby couldn't help but smile. At least Weiss and Blake had found good friends whilst they were away, people who would have their back too. "Let's leave those two be, they won't be done for a while, trust me," Pira spoke. Unlike Coco's teasing tones, the red-haired girl beside her was almost soft-spoken. She sounded used to the pair's antics but also kept a good eye on them so it doesn't escalate to something too bad. She sounded like a big sister. That's what. She reminded her of Yang if Yang wasn't too rowdy or teasing. "I apologize for not introducing ourselves sooner. My name is Pira Nikos. That girl who's currently dodging Weiss attacks is Coco Adele. We've been friends with Weiss and Blake for about 3 years now. It's a pleasure to meet you too. I would also like to apologize for not introducing myself sooner. I'm Ruby, Ruby Rose," she said, shaking the girl's hand. "I want to say thank you too, for being with them all these years. You've done something I've been wanting to do for the more than half a decade." "Alright, you and your sister had to leave, yes?" She nodded. "Yeah, for our uncle's job. It's pretty out there, and since he's our only living relative left, he didn't want to leave us alone anymore." "Well, I'm glad to have the chance to meet you then, Ruby." The red-haired girl smiled kindly, and Ruby could tell she was going to get along with both them in the near future. "Oh hey look." Pira putting on the older lady charm. Coco points at them with a grin when she was just about to be caught by Weiss, making the girl stare at them aghast. Coco, using this time to fully escape the white-haired girl's wrath, made RWBY laugh at their group dynamic. Pyrrha was the nice, older sister type, Coco was the little shit, Blake was probably still calm, cool, and collected, and Weiss was haughty, adorable, and stubborn, jaw-droppingly beautiful. The four of them were probably the school's resident popular girls. All confident, pretty girls. Especially the one she had her eye on. Speaking of someone she'd have her other eye on, emerging from the side of the house, coming from the backyard, were two familiar faces. One was her sister, with an unusual expression on her face. Face burrowed in her hands, red to her ears, which was strange coming from the girl who taught RWBY what little she knew about flirting. The other one was a shorter girl, taller than Weiss by a bit but much shorter than her 5'10" sister. Blake Belladonna had a smirk on her face, looking just as composed as always. Something RWBY had always admired and tried to mimic from the girl she'd called her other big sister. When Blake's eyes flitted towards them, she saw the girl's amber eyes widen a bit before giving her a wide smile. RWBY's legs sprinted towards the black girl with open arms. "Blake," she grins, almost tackling the girl with a bear hug, squeezing her tight before letting go. "Sheesh, you got stronger, Wubby," which made the both of them chuckle at the nickname, hugging her back just as tightly, giving her head a couple of pats. "And taller, it's hard to reach the top of your head now." "Well, yeah. It's been so long. I missed my other big sister." She grins, earning another pat from the black-haired girl. "It's been so difficult dealing with Yang, you know," she said in mock tears. "I missed having a sane sister in my life. I wanna hit you so bad right now, but I'll let it go cause you two are being cute," Yang growled, face still red. RWBY raised her fist up and got a fist bump in return courtesy of Blake. "I see we've all found ourselves back together." Weiss walks up toward them with a somewhat proud expression, arms crossed and nodding her head in approval. "It really has been far too long." "Whoa. Ice Queen." Yang perks up before tackling the girl in a similar fashion as RWBY had done. I missed you and Blakey so much." "Ugh. You oaf. You're heavy." Weiss tries pushing back before surrendering to her fate and just returning the hug as much as she could. "I missed you and RWBY too," she said softly. Making her sister pull back, looking at the white-haired girl with a shocked expression, making Weiss just as confused at the sudden action. "Holy shit, Shni. The Ice Queen? Honest with her feelings?" Yang said aghast, "Who the hell are you and what have you done with my Weissicle? All cold and thorns, where is she?" Earning a laugh from RWBY and Blake and an exasperated eye roll from Weiss. "Years later you're still as brash, loudmouth, and uncouth as ever. Nay, your language has gotten even worse. It needs some serious adjustments. Yao Long, it better not corrupt RWBY. There she is. That's where my girl was at." Yang grins, hugging the girl again before letting her go. After so long, the four of them were together again. They were whole, complete. RWBY couldn't contain the excitement. She pulled Blake and Weiss closer, placing an arm over their shoulders, and Yang did the same, making them form a huddled circle on the front of the party house. "Oh man. We're back together," she couldn't help but laugh. "Damn right we are. Oh man. I missed us so bad." Yang beamed, earning chuckles from Blake and Weiss. "I missed you lugheads too, so much," Weiss says, pulling them closer. "You two have been gone for so long," Blake says, sighing in content. "Team RWBY is back together, though maybe we should stop huddling, we look like drunk idiots," earning a laugh from all of them before pulling apart. "So how have you two been?" Blake asks before turning more serious. "Yang told me about what happened, when you two just left. I'm so sorry that happened to you and that we weren't there with you," she said sadly, but Yang and RWBY just shook their heads. "You kidding me, Blakey? We're new, back and better than ever." RWBY just nods. "Yeah, it wasn't ideal, but, hey, after all that, we're back to you guys and we don't plan on leaving for a long time," she ends with a smile. "So how did you and Ice Queen land on each other? Cause I've been chasing Blakey here around the house for a decent number of minutes, before I finally caught up and basically forced her to have a heart-to-heart on the roof," Yang explained. "Let me reiterate," Blake starts. "I arrived here with Weiss, Coco, and Pyrrha and had Sun point out where you two were, then Weiss shoved me to the dance floor, but when I finally got there Yang was dancing with some girl. I wasn't dancing with her. She was dancing with me." Yang protested but earned nothing but a raised brow and an amused smirk from Blake. "Certainly looked like it from my angle. Anyway, she saw me and I panicked, spent a decent amount dodging her and hiding from her, then she finally cornered me in a room where, well, two people were getting busy. That was so mortifying, Yang groans before letting Blake continue. Then we left immediately, not wanting to get in between or anywhere near that. Yang and I headed for the roof where she explained everything to me, sputtering, of course, and then I remembered the book I had given her and thought of the perfect welcome back greeting. I can't help it. You're pretty and I missed you so much. Yang buries her face in her hands once more, and that's where it clicked. I was just caught off guard. Ruby let out a loud guffaw that had her sister getting redder and redder. You were the one that got swept? You. Yang Casanova Xiao Long. Ugh. I wasn't ready. I didn't expect Blakey to be there. I gotta say, when we saw you two at school, you two strung Sun and Neptune along so easily, Blake says, bumping her sister's arm with her shoulder, I didn't expect you to have a hard time speaking to your childhood friend, certainly much awkward than you used to be. Oh, for the love of please. Stop. I'll redeem my name sooner or later. Yang groans before turning toward Ruby and Weiss with a pointed look. Now let's focus on how you two met up. Ruby and Weiss shared a look before thinking thoughtfully. She thought it best to let Weiss tell the story instead because Ruby knew she would never say anything that would give ammo for Yang to turn over the teasing. And that's how we ended up back here, Weiss finished, not once slipping up about their shared feelings, embarrassment, flirting. She was just amazing. If it had been Ruby, she'd be gushing to her sister about emotions for the white-haired heiress already. Thank God Weiss had none of those weaknesses for Yang to exploit. Yang, on the other hand, had another thing to focus on. Oh man, you guys got food. And you didn't tell me. I couldn't get to the snacks either and I'm starved, she groans. Figures that's the part of the story you'd focus on, Weiss playfully rolling her eyes. I still can't believe we're all back and going to the same school, Ruby sighs in content. Oh man, you guys gotta hang out at our place. Yang beams and nods her head. Yeah. We welcome you guys to Casa de la Xiao Long anytime. Ruby can cook us food. You guys still live in the same place? Blake asks. Nah, Uncle Crow sold the old house, we live on the other side of the city now, by the hills. Yeah? We still don't know what the name of the exact address is, but we know where to go, Yang replies. We'd love to invite you guys and you can hang out every time you feel like driving over. I'll even cook anything you guys fancy, just say it and I'll make it. Ruby grins, holding a thumbs up. Let me guess what you're thinking, Ice Queen. Yang leans in towards the white-haired girl's ear to whisper something that made Weiss' face erupt in red. Weiss grit her teeth before pushing her sister away and Yang laughing obnoxiously. Must you always be this unrefined? What, you were thinking it, so this bigger question is, must you be this predictable? Yang smirks and gives the girl a cocky smirk, knowing she had won their banter. Alright, it's way too late for you two to be bickering, Blake sighs but still had a smile on her face. What now though? We only really came here cause Sun said you two might show, guess we lucked out. You kidding me, Blakey? If there's anyone that's lucky, that's gotta be me and Rubes. Seriously, didn't expect it turn out like this. Oh yeah. It's been great, and Ruby got cut off by a loud unstoppable yawn from her mouth that left the three girls before her looking amused. Ugh, guess it's pretty late. She saw Weiss smiling at her softly before giggling. You still get sleepy this early? She could only groan in response. I don't want to go home yet though, we just got back together, I have so many things I still want to know. Weiss grabs her hand before giving it a tight squeeze filled with affection. You're not really gonna do much talking considering the fact that I know you're going to pass out the first 5 minutes after laying down. But Weiss, I missed you, she drawled, earning more giggles from the white-haired girl. We also have to drive Coco and Pira home, it's the least we can do after they accompanied us here, Blake says, leaning closer to Yang. Speaking of, where are they? When they turned around, the two girls weren't where they were a while ago. Instead they heard people getting rowdier and rowdier inside the house, until loud cheers erupted and Coco came out through the front door with the tall redhead, holding an unopened 3-liter bottle of whiskey that looked so big for the shorter girl. Seriously, Adele? Weiss raised a brow and Blake just chuckled at the girl's antics. It's either I take this or I leave Sun with a bad case of alcohol poisoning and a big hospital bill from being sent to an ER. Anywho, we didn't want to get in the way of your reunion, so me and Pira went to check again for everybody. They're all so wasted it's hilarious. Coco smirks, snickering at the high schooler still inside. She wasn't checking on their well-being, just finding out what kind of dirt she could dig up. which you will be deleting and not using, right Coco Adele? Hira gave the girl a cold look that had the shorter girl gulping in fear. I won't use it, she sighs, resigning. You're really scary when you want to be, such a mama bird, Hira. She once again focuses their attention on their group. So, you guys done? Oh, guess I haven't introduced myself to Blondie there. I'm Coco, you can call me the master of amazingness. This one here, she gestures to girl beside, is Pira Nikos, resident sugar mama, and she didn't get to finish the sentence as Pira had already smacked the back of her head whilst blushing at the term. Coco. Yang laughed at the actions and introduced herself much like the brown-haired girl. Nice to meet you too, name's Yang, Xiao Long, Lord of Awesomeness, and I can tell you and me are gonna get along, Coco. Do you like making fun of Shni too? Coco smirks whilst looking at the white-haired girl slyly. Yang just grinned widely at the statement. It's only like my favorite pastime. Oh wow, immediately, you're already a great candidate for the best friend position. Weiss just sighs, pinching the bridge of her nose and glaring at the budding pair of friends. Great, now there's two of them. Ugh, what did I ever do to deserve this? Why don't you guys ever do this to Blake? Coco and Yang just shared a look of understanding before nodding simultaneously. Cause Blake's terrifying when she's mad, they both say at the same time, making the black-haired girl smirk at the admittance. You two are insufferable, she scoffs, and Ruby couldn't help but pull the girl closer for a hug from behind and placing her chin on top of the girl's head. Aw, it's okay, Weiss. I'll be your ally anytime. We can come up with ways to get back at those two. Are you two even a thing now? Why are you guys so sweet already? Yang asks, perplexed. I know you didn't tell me everything that happened in the diner. She just grins and shakes her head. Not yet, but I plan on changing that soon enough, Ruby says before placing a kiss on top of the white-haired girl's head, earning a holler from both her sister and Coco. Suffice to say, Weiss' face was once again strawberry-colored, which was an amazing look for the girl, by the way. You unexpected woman seducer. Weiss says, huffing, looking away flustered. Alright you guys, it's too late for us to keep being this noisy around the neighborhood, Pira speaks up, with a delighted smile on her face. Pira's right, we should probably get home soon, Blake says before pulling both Ruby and Yang in a tight hug. We really missed you two so much, followed up by Weiss, who also buried her face on the crook of Ruby's neck. We'll see each other soon. Oh wait, phones. Weiss, Blake. I can't let us go no contact again, earning giggles from the two girls. With deft fingers, she swiftly sends an encryption software to their phones whilst making it seem like she was just placing her and Yang's phone numbers. No traces, no tracks. Ruby was determined to keep everyone safe. She had also politely asked for Coco and Pira's contacts, simultaneously doing the same thing she's done to the other mobile devices. Dash and done, she grins. I hope we'll all get along well, she says, returning the phones to each owner. Give us a message when you guys get home, alright? Ruby says with a smile. Only if you two do the same, Weiss replies with a similar twinkle in her eyes. The two sisters ushered the four girls towards a sleek-looking baby blue and white Porsche, and it didn't take a genius to know that it was owned by the white-haired beauty before her. Damn, nice ride, Shni. Yang whispered as they both opened the doors for everyone. I still like mine a lot better, but I can definitely see you rockin' this. Yes, well, unlike you, I'm just glad I have something to use to get places, not drive at 3 times the speed limit. When the four girls get in, Ruby goes towards the inside of the girls' opened window. Good night to you, fair ladies, she winked, earning giggles from all of them, and to my fairest lady of all, she leans and places a chaste kiss on the white-haired girl's cheek. She half expected Weiss to get shy again due to the numerous eyes looking at her with entertained smiles, but as always, the girl knew how to surprise her. She pulls Ruby by the neck of her shirt and places a longer kiss on her cheek that left her stunned. On the other side of the car, Yang had faced a similar dilemma, mouth opened in surprise, partially gasping like a fish. Text me once you get home, okay? Weiss asked so softly that Ruby could only nod dumbly, still grasping everything. Soon, Weiss had started backing up, and with a final wave, they started driving away. The last thing she heard was Coco laughing loudly and saying, "Damn girl, dish it." Yang and her were left staring at the path the girls drove to, just standing and relishing the feeling of lips on their cheeks. Ruby was smiling dopey, and Yang had a faint glossy mark on the edge of the side of her lips. Hey Rubes, that really happened, right? Yang says somewhat dazed, and RWBY could only nod with the goofy smile on her face. Damn, we're in for a lot of trouble. Yang Xiaolong, whipped, never thought I'd see the day, she snorted, earning a smack on her arm. If I'm whipped, you are too, this is solidarity. I never said I wasn't, she laughs before continuing, damn, what a woman, RWBY sighs in content. I miss her already. Wait, is this what it feels like to get wistful? Oh god, am I getting moony over Blake already? Her sister ran her hand through her thick blonde locks in panic. Yang Xiaolong, whipped, RWBY said as a fact before grabbing the keys from her pockets and tossing it over to her sister. Despite being mid-crisis, she caught it just as easily. You're driving this time. Without much fanfare, the two of them got inside her car, and as Yang started the engine and drove away, her sister was far from the nervous wreck she was earlier. She immediately knew she was talking to Special Agent Xiaolong at the moment. So, what did you tell Weiss? Yang asks carefully. She, in turn, matched the agent persona with her own. Just a gist of the initial incident: we found a weapon while they tried to kill Uncle Crow. He says he loves us, by the way. I missed his call. Yang's demeanor briefly returns to normal, Abu, before going back to her no-nonsense partner in the secret force. RWBY recounted everything she'd told Weiss about what happened, and Yang nodded in understanding. Looks like our stories match. Good, we can't slip up, Rubes, or they might get dragged into this mess like we did. RWBY shakes her head and eases the tenseness of her shoulders. That talk with Agent Xiaolong is over. Now she wants to speak with her sister, just Yang. You think it's a mistake for us to see them again? I almost broke when I lied straight to Weiss' face. I feel filthy for being so dishonest to them. But we can't tell them, RWBY, not anytime soon. One day maybe, when we've found everything out, our parents, what happened to them, and stopped all the bad things for coming. But for now, we gotta keep them in the dark, Yang says with finality. As much as it hurts me, this ensures their safety. Yeah, to keep them safe. And this wasn't forever. This time it was a self-made promise that one day, when the time was right, she would tell Weiss the truth of who they were and what they've become. She just hopes when the day comes Weiss wouldn't be so mad about it. It was one thing to tell them about their initial encounter with death, but another thing entirely different once they found out that her and Yang sought after it like treasure. Taking mission after mission to rid the world of evil scum and trying to find answers. When Weiss and Blake inevitably find out how many times they've put themselves willingly in harm's way. They're gonna kick our butts when they find out, huh? RWBY gulps with fear. The thought of the girls getting so angry at them, it's enough to make a grown man have chills running down his back. Yang just smirks and shakes her head. We'll be lucky if that's all they'll do. Upon getting home, they were met with a dark house. Immediately, their feet dragging them to the nearest place to lay down and pass out, which was still the comfy living room couches. Come to think of it, has she even slept in her room on her actual bed yet? No, she hasn't. Not that it was a problem, just an observation made by yours truly. Getting comfortable, she plops on the couch and pulls out her phone. There was already a message from Weiss saying that they were already home, that she wishes them pleasant dreams, and a red heart emoji that was basically a Cupid's arrow shot straight to her heart. She replied with similar sentiments, a good night for her wonderful snowflake, and a kiss and heart emoji back. Yeah, this was okay for now. As long as she got to spend time with this beautiful girl, this was enough. Hopefully when the time for truth comes, they'd still want to hear them out. But for now. Good night, my Weiss, I hope you have the sweetest dreams tonight, RWBY thought before planting a kiss on the white-haired girl's picture they took earlier and closing her eyes. This was enough, right? Chapter 10, Blissful Ignorance. Ugh, Bleg. Crow spats out for who knows how many times now, looking absolutely annoyed at the lush, green scenery in front of him. Greenery teeming with mosquitoes and other pests trying to either suck his blood or accidentally fly inside his mouth. Suffice to say, he was not having a good day. He missed the two twerps who would usually be with him during missions. The last 7 years of taking back-to-back objectives with them made him remember how nice it was to actually have people to guard your back. He missed RWBY's genius, being able to keep her wits sharp despite any situation. The kid could be stone cold, and Crow could always rely on her having a clear head to make the best decision despite every situation. Her sheer brilliance when it came to anything tech-related, accompanied by the absolute skill she had for firearms, RWBY was an invaluable asset, Her only weakness was being not as good as her sister when it came to hand-to-hand combat, but that was quickly compensated by her ability to be stealthy and having an accurate execution of techniques. Yang, on the other hand, had the same keen instincts and observation skills Raven had. The fact that she could spot something that was off in every single mission they've been alongside her sheer physical prowess. She could wipe dozens upon dozens of enemies with just her power gauntlets and masterful martial arts competency. He could always count on the kid to be right beside him in front as they fought every single opponent. Her only downside was that she was hot-headed, easily riled up, punching first and only sometimes asking the right questions. In a way, the two girls completed each other. They had what the other lacked, and that made them a deadly combination. The two were the perfect mix of Summer and Raven, all right. With some Tai thrown in the mix too. He's always thought so, but it's just getting more and more prevalent as time passes by. He sighed. Maybe he was getting too old for this. It certainly hasn't been easy the past few years. Crow could feel himself getting sloppier and sloppier, relying more on the kids as time passed. Crow Branwen, the one dubbed as the drunken killer of Team STRQ. He sighs once more, focusing on the task ahead. This mission was becoming a quick thorn to his side, much more than he thought it would. Ojpin had told him to find anything regarding the multiple disappearances of different agents all around. Not just from their agency either. Other protection orgs have had several missing personnel, and from the accounts he'd gathered from the other branches, the story remained the same. They'd be sent on a mission and some just don't get back from it. Mostly getting classified as dead than M.I. due to excessive rise in numbers. The thing that annoyed him the most was because there was no rhyme or reason to it. Well, there was bound to be a reason. Crow just didn't know it yet, but there was no rhythm to the agents being taken. They could be veterans or newbies, old or younger, skilled or lackluster in performance. There was no pattern, as if whoever committing these just took whichever they could get their hands on first. He did know something though. The quick rising of the number of disappearances, he could rule out the possibility of just one person committing this. As much as he didn't want to acknowledge it, they might be going up against a new and terrifying group that was targeting his people specifically. Crow wasn't liking this one bit. Fuck, where's the flask when I need it? He muttered, taking off his suit jacket. Seriously, couldn't they make a more seasonal uniform? Something other than a suit that sucks so badly to wear in the summer or in tropical countries. He looked like a reverse Where's Waldo. Anyone could easily see his black suit and tie amidst the jungle. If I don't find anything here, I'm hitting Robin on the head. He clicked his tongue in annoyance before continuing. He was somewhere on an unmarked island on the northern Pacific Ocean, which, according to the pale blonde-haired woman, had sent a weird signal in something like Morse code, but before they could begin to decipher it ended. Like it was a mistake. Or a well-placed bait. As for his own opinion, Crow had been walking around the island for at least an hour or two now and found nothing but bugs and plants. Now that he thought about it, there was something weird about the place, and he couldn't believe it took him this long to realize. Amidst his own mind being too busy missing his family, whiskey, and being somewhere that wasn't so humid it made him sweat just by thinking about heat. He stopped and listened and realized he was alone. There were no sounds of animal life around. No birds or even small game running around the treetops. No chirping, crooning, growling. It was empty. Then he focused on his hearing. The subtle sounds of the ocean, the lack of wind blowing. When he opened his eyes again, he looked down and found something odd. On the mossy roots of the big trees, the dark brown hues of the dirt couldn't hide a tiny object. He bent down to pick it up and realized that it was a pin. An insignia, outlined black with all white paint on the inside with a black printed eye on the inside, and his eyes widened. He felt the hairs on his arms stand as he tried to even his breathing. There was someone else here. Crow was sure of it. Because right now, he could feel eyes landing on every part of his body studying him. Another deep breath. Don't let them know what you know, never let the enemy get inside your head. Calmly, he placed the pin inside his pants pockets. Even breaths as he once again puts his jacket on. That's when he heard the beeping. It was faint and he wasn't quite sure where it was coming from, but on the silent island, it was so out of place. It was so gradual that he wasn't sure, but once it got louder, his instinct screamed at him to turn around, and that's exactly what he did, sprinting as fast as he could. Dodging every single tree, vine, plant life that would slow his escape, and just like that, he found the beach he had docked earlier. Quickly spotting the helicopter he used to get here, he jumped in and strapped, quickly rising up to fly away from the spot. A few minutes as he took off, the ocean waves and copter blades were replaced by an explosion that decimated the greenery he was in just moments ago, making him flinch as the ringing in ears got louder and louder before fading. "Fuck," he muttered, gritting his teeth and glaring at the island below him. He was getting too old for this, and maybe he owed Robin some food for that excellent lead that quite literally just blew up in his face. There was no use staying here anymore. Any clue left would probably charred to bits and sent to pieces up in the air. But before he could fly away, he saw a person standing on the beach. Wearing a hood and all black fatigues, heavily armed and a white masked head looking straight at his direction. Should he engage or leave it be? But before Crow could make a decision, the person started walking back to the origins of the explosion, and before he knew it, the figure was already obscured by the foliage. "This mission just keeps getting weirder and weirder," he muttered, swiftly flying away from the eerie island, asking himself over and over again if it was too soon to retire. She was convinced she had never been this happy in her life. Weiss woke up bright and happy on a Monday morning, smiling and thinking everything was right with the world. Which was downright bizarre considering she would usually be glaring at her alarm clock from waking her up from a probable RWBY-related dream. But now, not only did she get to spend Saturday just texting and talking to Ruby over the phone, the entire yesterday was the four of them spending the whole day just hanging out and having honest-to-goodness fun. Catching up with the two sisters. Pleasantly, both Blake and her had realized that despite their experiences and obvious physical growth, the pair had been more or less the same. They're still troublemakers, but only this time, with the added charm and suave that could have anyone eating at the palm of their hands. This wasn't without its problems, however. The number of people who approached the pair was ridiculous. From guys and especially girls their ages to older women who seemed to want to have a piece of the sisters. Ruby was cordial enough to politely decline every time, immediately, grabbing Weiss' hand in comfort before walking away with her, but Yang seemed to enjoy stringing the people along, letting the light flirting drive the group of people wild. Oddly, Blake didn't seem to mind though. She was having just as much fun as the pair made up a game of "What do you think the simps are thinking?" The black-haired girl enjoyed it further when she confirmed that Yang was a godly flirt with everyone except her. The blonde could barely string a compliment when it came to Blake. It was hilarious. From someone who was being treated like a sex goddess only to be downgraded down to awkward blushing teen crushing on someone, Yang could barely hold herself together before erupting in a blushing mess every time, and Blake relished every second. All in all, it was the most fun she'd had in a long time. Enhanced by being with her favorite people, it was Sunday well spent. Now, they get to see each other again, and Weiss couldn't help but relish in it. Going to the same school, being together again. It was a dream come true. "Hey, Weiss. Hurry up in there. We're gonna be late. I still have to shower." Blake calls from the outside of the bathroom door. The girl was right. The sooner she finishes, the sooner they get to school and finally see her dolled. They were out of their apartment just a little past 7. The nice part of it was that their place wasn't that far from the school, plus it wasn't as busy at this time in their area, so they only really had to drive for 5 to 10 minutes. Of course they could always walk to school, but, in mornings when you've skipped breakfasts, a car ride is integral for passing by a drive-through to get something to eat on the way. But not today. They had better things to do. When they arrived at school, they were pleasantly surprised to find two familiar motorcycles parked neatly, a red Ducati and a yellow Kawasaki. Guess the sisters had learned about the importance of punctuality after all, despite them being late on their first and not even bothering to attend on their second day. She parked her car and fixed herself up with some light makeup and smoothing out any possible creases on her uniform before walking towards the familiar halls. Immediately they could hear excitable talks, girls gossiping, guys halfway drooling, and just a few lockers ahead of theirs was the main topic of the entire school. The Roxiao sisters. Yang was running her hand through her unruly hair and astonishingly actually wearing the uniform. From the black blazer with the gold accents, the white mid-sleeve underneath and the red ribbon tied neatly around the collar, she wasn't wearing the school-issued red vest but wore the plaid red skirt like she meant it. Paired with thigh-high socks that had people focusing on her long, toned legs. Ruby, on the other hand, was leaning on the locker beside her sisters, holding a white box and a white paper bag and not at all wearing the uniform. Her skirt was replaced by black jeans, her upper part of the uniform was a red hoodie, and the only thing on her person that was issued by the school was the blazer that was placed on top of the said hoodie. She really did want to tell Ruby about the importance of wearing proper school clothing, but it was so hard when she looked so effortlessly good. Dark, red-tipped hair, perfectly mussed, making it look so perfect for running her hand through. Ugh. This charming dolt. The pair looked unbothered by the number of eyes on them, talking amongst themselves until Ruby sighs and looks towards their direction. Immediately her sleepy-looking expression was replaced with wide eyes and a big grin. She straightens up and waves towards them energetically. Weiss. Blake. She smiles, beckoning them over, making her and Blake huff in amusement. When they got near, she cleared her throat and tried her best to look serious. I see you've completely disregarded the uniform policy, she says with a raised brow, trying desperately to keep her expression from changing. The girl looked so happy just to see them, Weiss could almost see an imaginary tail wagging behind. Yes. I did, but you'd be daft if you're gonna catch me wearing a skirt on a bike, Weiss, she says smugly. Oh. And I asked Principal Port if he'd allowed, he said why not, before erupting in a tangent about his olden days. I just took it as permission to just do it instead of clarifying. Then why is Yang wearing the uniform? Blake asks, turning her attention to the blonde who already looked exasperated. I'm wearing spats shorts beneath my skirt anyway, plus it looks cute, she says before glaring at her sister and grabbing Ruby by the collar and shaking the silver-eyed girl. Ruby seemed unperturbed, just continuing to smile at them innocently, but enough about that. Guess what she did? Here we go again, Ruby sighs, but before Yang could continue, someone popped up from behind them. It was Pyrrha, Coco and Velvet, joining in the commotion. Oh. You two must be the childhood friends. Velvet says, clasping her hands together as she greeted the sisters with glee. Yang smiled at the girl but still continued to shake her sister, and Ruby greeted the long-haired girl in return. Yep, we are, nice to meet you. I'm Velvet Scarlatina. I couldn't join my friends for the party, so I missed out on the initial meeting, she says, tone soft as always, but I've heard nice things. The two sisters greeted the girl with the same energy, and Weiss found it nice that her old friends got along well with her new ones, despite now having two possible annoyances joining forces. Now our introductions are out of the way, I heard you asking what Red did. Coco says, sunglasses obscuring her eyes as she sipped her takeout coffee. Oh right. Yang says as if remembering the whole dilemma, guess what she did? No wait. Scratch that. I'll tell you what she did. And Ruby handed her the white paper bag towards them. Apparently this dolt was sweet enough to get the four of them breakfast sandwiches, with hers and Blake's being exactly what they usually ordered. I got you guys food, cause I just figured that Weiss would skip breakfasts more than she ate them. Blake would probably do the same, and I remembered Coco mentioning a Velvet last time and I added another so everybody would have one, she says with a grin that Weiss nearly melting. Was there anyone else as perfect as this girl? Why, thank you Ruby, this is awfully sweet of you, Pyrrha said with a sweet smile as she got her sandwich, and Coco gave an approving nod. You pass, daughter-in-law. Ruby chuckles before continuing, I also just tried guessing what you guys would order based on our brief interaction last time. I hope I wasn't too off base, except for Velvet. I haven't met you yet, but I just went with a vegetable sandwich cause statistically, there would at least be one vegetarian/vegan in a group of friends that go to a fancy school. She smiled. Was I spot on? Velvet blinked twice before erupting in a fit of giggles and nodding. Oh wow, yes it is spot on, that was amazing, you really know how to make an impression. Yes she does, and if only she also remembered to bring our school stuff, she'd be great, Yang continued, shaking her, but Ruby remains unbothered. Technically I didn't forget, it just didn't seem all that important to warrant going back to. Ruby shrugged her shoulders, especially since I still had to line up and get these. She raises the white box. Not that imp, we need to take down notes. Yang says exasperatedly. Correction, dear sister, you need to take down notes. I can remember everything perfectly and I'll just make summaries after school about everything learned and talked about, Ruby says smugly, making her Yang groan further. You could have been a little bit nicer and brought my stuff knowing I forgot. Yang whines, you didn't even get me food. Didn't get you food? You ate my share of breakfast and then dashed saying, oh, I need to feel the city breeze, I'm gonna rev up my bike by RWBY, see you at school, the silver-eyed girl said mockingly. They sure are rowdy in the morning, Coco says smirking, well it's amusing to watch so I don't really care. Alright you two, stop it, Blake sighs. Yang, stop trying to strangle Ruby, you were at fault for forgetting. Ha. RWBY grinned proudly before standing behind the black-haired girl. You know Blakey, you really gotta stop siding with Rubes, her head's already big as is, yang size. Well, she'd always side with me cause I'm always right. RWBY sticks her tongue out. I gotta ask, why starts, what was so important that you had deliberately leave behind your school supplies and line up for a white box? RWBY's eyes flitted to the side and refused to look at her in the eyes. It's just, you know, breakfast. Weiss crossed her arms and stared at the girl with a pointed look. Are you eating cookies for breakfast? RWBY scoffed and waved her hand. No, cookies are more of an after 9 thing with warm or cold milk, but since it's not after 9 nor do I have anything that resembles milk, it's not cookies. She eyed the girl carefully. Show me the box, RWBY. The taller girl just shook her head in defiance, looking adorable while doing so. No. You're gonna take it from me. Show the box. Now, and they got in a staring match, her eyes never once leaving the girl's silver orbs. RWBY on the other hand looked scared. Pupils dilating in nervousness before she sighed and pushed the box towards her, hands still shaky. Promise that you're not going to take it away from me, RWBY says, reluctantly opening the package. The inside made her eyes twitch. It was probably more than 24 strawberry-filled powdered donut holes and RWBY smiling in glee. Ain't she a beaut, staring lovingly at the sugary box of monstrosity. Confiscated. What no? RWBY pulled away so quickly and swiftly, putting distance from them. You're not eating that much sugar this early. Do you want to have diabetes? But I lined up for this, Weiss. I already drank 3 cans of Red Bull and if you take this from me I'm gonna die from lack of sucrose. She says walking backwards, eyes in near tears. I'm doing this for your own good. Then the girl looked like she was suddenly hit by a great idea. She gives an innocent smile before walking towards Weiss and grabbing her by the chin. Have I told you how beautiful you are this morning? But then again you're always gorgeous, my Weiss, she says with an easily mesmerizing smile that had her heart beating 0 to 100 really quickly. Sadly for the girl, it wasn't because she was charmed, she just felt her blood pressure rise from this girl's antics. She felt a vein pop on her head. Wrong move, womanizer. Her smile could have started the next ice age. RWBY immediately back away looking much paler than she had been when she was spitting her gigolo lines. Before finally realizing she could easily outrun Weiss with her having longer legs and such. You won't take Dowie from me. She raises the box high up before bolting for the corner so fast that if you blinked, you'd miss her. RWBY rose. Come back here, she says indignantly, stomping her heeled shoes down. For a moment, nothing happened, but no sooner, RWBY did come back, smiling genuinely before bending down a bit to kiss her right temple. I hope you have a great day ahead, before turning to the rest of the group, you guys too. Come on Yang. We're gonna be late. Oh. And you're still not getting Dowie away from me. She was still stunned as she watched the girl run away shoving donut holes in her mouth like her life depended on it. Yep, still a damn troublemaker, God, and she was in love with this infuriating dolt. She couldn't help but pinch the bridge of her nose as she tried to calm her nerves. From being annoyed to making her heart flutter. The girl was just a never-ending box of surprises. When she turned around, Pyrrha and Velvet were respectfully trying to stop their laughter, but Coco was already being a menace. Man. She got you wrapped up perfectly on her pinky. The shorter brown-haired girl was laughing so hard she was clutching her stomach. Beside her Blake just smirks and nods. It wasn't cookies. Damn it, Blake. 1. Give me an update of everything. 3. It seems that Mr. Taurus has fallen. Pity, I didn't even get the chance to get his body, the parts would have been a nice addition to my fiend's physique. 2. Well, no matter, he's always been expendable, we no longer require his people charming skills, we have more than enough to execute the plan. 1. How is our little gadget working? 4. No further problems with the device, you can make anyone become brainless puppets awaiting your beck and call at any time, my finest work if I do say so myself. 1. And this will ensure our success. 4. Those lousy protection agencies won't stop us, rest assured, not if they want to hurt their allies in the process. 1. Good. 4. Let it be known though, that the one who eliminated Adam Taurus wasn't Agent Branwen but 2 brats, and they're quickly becoming a nuisance. 1. Brats. 2. According to our moles, they're just teenagers. 1. Kids like them are of no consequence, we'll just kill them along the rest of their so-called agencies. 2. As always, you're still impatient. I was going to show you and I think you'll either be very annoyed or very amused. 1. Summer Rose. 2. Close. Agent Ruby Rose, it seems that our little agents have kept something from us for a long time. Brilliant. 2. She's the one who stopped the nukes from bombing the world. 1. And the other one. 2. Was the one who landed the final blow on Adam Taurus. Isn't it interesting, how after so long we get to face their bloodlines once again, the best agents to ever live, now their children. 1. 3. Oh, someone's got a cat stuck on their tongues. 1. Infuriating as always. No matter, their family won't stop us from attaining our goals this time. 3. Should we get rid of them then? The girl with the red tips would add wonderfully to my collection. 1. No, not yet, but keep a close eye on them. In the meantime, I suggest you get working on those weapons and make sure to have those devices fitted. 2. Oh, I know that look, you're planning something bad. I gotta say honey, that shade works really well on you. 1. Keep an eye on them and we'll give those two a proper family reunion. I won't be stopped by a bunch of brats. 2. I also want to add something to this riveting conversation. I might have blown up weapon cache 11. 1. What? 2. In my defense, I just had to say a little greeting to one of our favorite agents. I even sent someone to keep a close eye on him. 1. Your recklessness is what will make us fail, imbecile. 2. Relax Toots, I know just enough to rattle him. I have nothing to say now, so I'll take my leave. 1. Wretched fool. 4. Well, if he's leaving, so am I have enough on my plate as it is. 3. And I have more people to take, agents to beat and mutilate. Good day. 1. 1. Tisk, worthless ingrates. 1. Ruby Rose. I'll let you meet your family soon enough. 1. The League will prosper, the League will prevail, the League will rule over all. Alright, that's where we'll leave off for the day. Thanks so much for listening along with me today. If you enjoyed, please like and comment down below. It really helps with the algorithms. I look forward to seeing you next time. Ciao for now, lovelies.